Manage and Lightning App Builder section, and we're going to do the last unit in data modeling. So we've covered these two units. Now we're going to the last unit that says work with Schema Builder. So the learning objectives, we are going to be able to describe the advantages of using Schema Builder for data modeling. Should be able to use a Schema Builder to create a schema for a given object model. You should be able to use a Schema Builder to add a custom object schema. Should be able to use the Schema Builder to add a custom field to your schema. Right. So what is the Schema Builder? Basically what the Schema Builder is, it is a visual way in which you are able to see your data model, and it also allows you to adjust your data model. Right. So what they're showing us here is how to get to the Schema Builder using the setup menu. And we are able to do a couple of things that they show us here. How to add a custom object, create a custom object, and then add a field, a custom field to that object, right? So this is another way in which you can create objects other than the object manager. Okay, so let's go and have a look at that. Okay. So what I'll do here is I'm already in the setup menu. I will search for Schema Builder. Seem to be slow on my end. Schema Builder. I'm going to select Schema Builder. All right. What you usually will get is already a populated schema. And if you look at my schema, it's already populated. But what you want to do initially is clear all. Okay. So there's no objects that are showing on the schema. All right. And then you want to select the objects that are of interest to you. So in our case, we're going to look for objects that we've just created, or the object model that we've just created. Right. So we're going to select the contact, which is one of the objects that we want or we are using in our model. And then next, we are going to look at a property, and you can search also there. Then select it. And the next thing we want to add to the schema is the favorite, right? That we also added to our model. Okay. If you have a look at it there, you can see that there is these three that appear on the schema, right? And we have relationship lines that also show us that there is a relationship between these objects. Okay. The blue relationships, so the blue lines will show you that there is a lookup relationship. Okay. The red lines will show you that there's a master detail relationship. Okay. And we also have cardinality, right? When it comes to relationships, cardinality just tells us, is this a one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-many relationship? Okay. So in our case, we can see that between the contact and the favorite object, one contact can have many favorite properties, right? So contact, you can see by this sort of symbol here, where there is a node and then there's branches that come out. If there's many branches, it shows you that it's a one-to-many relationship. And you can see the same here. A property can have many favorites, right? And you can have, yeah, it's one-to-many as well. Yeah. Okay. When you have a central object that connects two objects, and we have a many relationship coming from the one side and a many relationship coming from the other side. It means the relationship between this object and this object is many to many. So one contact can favorite many properties, and one property can be favorited by many contacts, right? Okay, so let's look at creating an object, right? Adding it to the schema. But we're not going to create it using the object manager this time. We're going to create it using the schema builder. Okay. So what you do there is you need to click on elements, right? And you can see that you can either add objects or fields. I'm going to add an object. You just drag it into canvas. So the object that I'm going to create is a room, to have a representation of a room in my um, data model, right? And, and yeah, I'm just going to just save the room object. It's taking forever, probably because it's slow, but bear with me. Let's just refresh the page and see if anything happens. Take auto layout so that I can bring everything into view. And from that, we can now zoom out. And we see now that our schema has four objects, right? And usually you can also just see here how many things are appearing on the schema in case you have the schema zoomed out. Okay, zoom back out. So we have an object here, but we can see that this object is an island. It does not relate to any of these objects, right? But we know that a room cannot exist if it does not belong to a property. So we're going to create a master detail relationship between the room and the property. And when you create a master detail relationship, we know that you create that relationship in the detail object. This would be the master, this would be the detail. Okay. So I'm going to go again to elements, right? And now this time I'm going to select a field, right, instead of an object. And I want a master detail field, and I want to put it into my room object. I'm going to call this room, right? And the room is related to a property. Yeah. I'll save. Right. So now we've added the field to our object, and we can see that already a line will already be drawn there, right, between the two objects that have a relationship. And we can see that this relationship is also uh, one to many. Right? One property can have many rooms, which makes sense. All right. Yeah, so that sums up the use of Schema Builder. It's easy for us to see how our objects relate. Um, yeah, it's easy for us to add objects as well and add fields right into the data model while still seeing the full picture of how everything relates, right? That's the end of this session. Thank you very much.